So earlier this week, I was lucky enough to play GTA Online Heists with these two. We played, well, all the way through an entire mission, which was the Humane Labs mission, which is one heist broken down into 6 components.
Yeah.
So we're going to spend the next few minutes kind of breaking it down, because I think for the first time with my experience of GTA Online, it really it highlights how much you've got to work together as a team, and like how your role was very different from mine and yours, etc.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll clarify what it's like to play Heist before they come out on March the 10th. So the first part of the mission, I guess, is the setup. So one person has to be the designated heist leader. That's the person who needs a decent apartment. You need an apartment with space for 10 cars.
And they front all the cash, don't they?
They do, yeah. So for the mission we did, I think it was 57 grand you needed to put up front. But the flip side of that is, at the end, you get to decide who takes away what. So yeah, you spend a lot of money up front, but you'll probably get more back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first part of the mission was we had to do a deal with the IAA to get some data cards. So I was playing as the dealer. I had to go and do the deal with the people on the ground. You were my bodyguard.
Yeah, when you're kind of setting up at first in the apartment, when everything's laid out in front of you, that's when you kind of allocate the roles to each other.
Yeah, you can swap them over.
And there's a bit of, the outfit design is kind of relative to your mission. So for this one, we're meeting with people.
We're meeting in downtown.
Exactly, so
in a
it's kind
public
of
area, so we're not going to turn up in
suits,
stealth gear.
Nice dress, and then the lookouts would be in the stealth gear and things like that. So I was the bodyguard, of course, being the muscle of the company. And then we had 2 lookouts as well.
Yeah, so we were playing with someone from Rockstar, and I was the other lookout. We were both lookouts. I was south, he was north.
Yeah.
And when we got to the car park where the meet was going to take place, I went up a set of ladders. I forgot the button, so I actually jumped off from a very high height. And it's important to remember you have shared lives.
Two shared lives.
Two shared lives, which go really, really quickly. So I'm quite happy I didn't die. So I went back up to my little...
You broke your legs.
Yeah, I was on one of those kind of external ladders on the side of a building. Yeah. He did the same on the other side. And it's quite an open parking lot with lots of exits and entrances, and I could have a pretty good view on a couple of them. He could have the opposing view, so he could see down alleyways that I couldn't. Yeah. So we had you pretty well covered when the people turned up with the key cards.
So it's the FIB, the IAA, we did the deal with them. We got the key cards, we exchanged for the cash, but very quickly after the FIB turned up.
Yeah,
went down.
Sour.
And
exactly.
as you say, so we got kind of basically swarmed upon from 4 different directions. And had we have collaborated better, we would have had people facing each of the 4 directions. It didn't quite work
didn't
out
really,
like
didn't
that.
really
Well,
do that.
luckily we were blessed with high-level characters.
We were,
essentially all the guns. So immediately, as soon as one person shows up, everyone's got rocket launchers, grenade launchers, just firing down every alleyway.
Yeah, so
which did give us
so from
some
my
decent
position, I could take out a whole range of cars using a grenade launcher,
Right.
and then people agents started filtering down the alleyways, and they were choke points, so you could throw bombs down or lay down fire. So the first time we did it, we kind of failed because we all wanted to get into a car together and escape together.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went wrong really quickly, because once you get into a getaway vehicle, it feels like more agents descend upon you.
Yeah.
Second time we did it, me and the other lookout stayed behind and provided cover for you two to get away.
Yeah, so we managed to, once you clear the first wave of FIB agents, you can jump in the car and make good your escape. So we did that, and I think, pretty much most of the heat kind of stayed with you back at the meet-up point, because we were chased.
There were a couple of cars chasing us for a while. Our goal is to make it back to the apartment with the files. Aside from just throwing a couple of grenades out the windows, we didn't have too many problems.
Yeah.
So it sounded like from the gunshots, you guys took most of the action, kept it there.
It wasn't like, when you get a 5-star rating or something like that, you get attacked from all angles. It wasn't like that at all. It was basically people chasing us.
Well, I don't want to blow my own horn, but I was pretty good with those grenades
and
as well.
I was pretty good behind the wheel. But we made it, I would say, with relative ease. I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah, well, we passed the mission. We got in a car very at the end, but we passed when you were already back at base.
And so that was the kind of end of the first part of the setup. So all the people that weren't heist leaders, basically you get cash as you go through, because I've basically hired you to finish my heist. And that's why I get the big lump of sum. So you all got bits of cash.
Exactly.
Heist leader gets nothing. Their reward comes right at the end. You've got to sit through all 6 parts of the mission. But once we had all the key cards, it was on to the next part of the heist.
Okay, so the second preparation mission involved us acquiring 2 armoured insurgent vehicles. We were down at the bottom of a quarry.
Yes, the Davis Quartz Quarry.
Good knowledge. So it's a bit like the end of Jack Reacher. Have you seen Jack Reacher? I
haven't.
No, reference failed. It's a bit like that. So we had to drive there together. And obviously driving across the huge map can be maybe a little bit boring.
But you can way out in Blaine.
Yeah, it's really far away, but you can do impromptu races to like make it a little bit more interesting, which actually was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was.
So when we got there, you can go into the quarry and you can see the 2 trucks down at the bottom. And we made, so it's like Merryweather guys there.
They're being guarded by Merryweather mercenaries.
Quite heavily. So what we did to make work a little bit easier for ourselves, me and our friend from Rockstar stayed up top with sniper rifles and took out loads of guys in sequence while you guys headed on down.
I just drove my supercar down the side.
I saw you
can
went
also do.
flying down there.
That's my approach to everything. Get the fastest car you can and just go
Alex
straight.
just jumped off down into the centre.
So yeah, by the time I got to the bottom of the quarry, I think there was 1 guy left.
Yeah,
and
I'm
they
really
even
good with a
had
sniper
one
rifle.
inside him.
I'm like Jack Reacher.
But yeah, I guess it was quite a short mission. So 2 armoured cars, one with a 50 cal machine gun on the back.
Bit extravagant.
So we jumped in those. First thing, drive them out of the quarry. Of course, more Merryweather guys turned up. Now, you and I had the
You were together, right?
Insurgent, yeah.
So we were
with
in the
50
car,
cal.
exactly, with the 50 cal on the back. So I was on the guns while you were driving. Mostly painless up until right at the end, where we were essentially at the safe house, and you kind of got a bullet through the head.
I did. We were swarmed by jeeps, helicopters. What did you guys do?
So it's more tricky for me because I was driving. We didn't have the advantage of having a 50 cal gun on the back, so bit harder. So my mate in the car with me, he was like using sticky bombs, grenades, firing. But it was much more difficult, and we were getting under a lot more trouble than you guys.
Right.
We were getting run off the road quite a lot.
Well, we were in front of you as well, so you got all the cars that kind of we left behind.
Difficult. I think you probably should have protected us a little bit more.
That's probably
you were
what
there.
we were for.
We were just getting hammered from either side.
Absolutely took off. Yeah.
That's, like I say, put your foot down and don't worry about anybody else around you. That's my theory.
That's great teamwork there for Heist.
Yeah, and we dropped the cars off, and then we were told that we only really needed one. So good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the one with the gun.
No.
So.
No, but again, I thought, pretty simple mission, but showing off the new Insurgent kind of armoured personnel.
Also, I think it's great because it takes you to these places that you forget that are even in the map.
Yeah.
It's got great locations, which are brilliant backdrops for like big set pieces. Yeah. And they're just there in the map, and you really take advantage of them.
Yeah. But the point of getting this armoured car was it's basically that's going to become our carrier for the EMP, which was the next part of the heist mission.
So the next step of the heist was we had to get the EMP that was mounted on the Hydra jet.
Yes.
So we had to take the dinghy out from the safe house, kind of like under the shelter of night, and we entered into the aircraft carrier from the back.
Yep.
And it was very much, I think, the first kind of stealth mission that we had to do full on, kind of coming in through the back. But things got ugly quite fast as soon as people are aware of you being on the boat, and we just make your way through all the tunnels and
we had to clear out the lower decks of the aircraft carrier. There's a lot of military dudes there we were taking out, flanking on either side, hiding behind crates and stuff. And then we had to get up to the deck once we cleared it out. And up there was waiting. There was the one Mammoth Hydra.
Yes,
exactly.
And then there were 3 other regular fighter jets.
Yeah.
So the Mammoth Hydra is the new one that's out now with Heist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's the first vertical takeoff plane, which was fun for I think we all got a chance to try it out.
Yeah, because we all died.
So we had to do this multiple
flying
times.
the Hydra jet.
But it was great, it's fun, and then you have the other people with the military jets on your tail trying to chase, because as soon as you get out into the air, you have waves and waves of more jets.
It's a cool mission. It's a cool mission. You're all getting out onto deck, and all scrambling for different fighter jets.
Yeah.
So the first time maybe you took the Mammoth Hydra, you went off to it, and I'm pegging it off to another fighter jet, and then this is where you need communication, taking off in sequence, not all just going at once.
We learned that the hard way,
converging.
unfortunately.
Yeah, we lost our lights very quickly at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing about that was, once you're up in the sky, a lot of other military jets were scrambled. It was a real kind of Top Gun moment where I think there was the 4 of us and probably a dozen other bad guys.
Must have been.
And we take them out. Yeah.
And it was just
also flying into each other quite a lot.
That happened a lot. They're quite aggressive. They fly right towards you. So I think when I died in the Hydra, it's because I got, oh no, it was you. I was fighting.
I was sitting
somebody
here
else.
hoping you weren't going to remember this.
I was fighting another jet, basically chasing its tail, about to fire a missile, and then I got hit from his rockets that he was firing at the other missile as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah.
It's just a
I
frenzy
think
of
that's
rockets
probably
kind of going
revenge
everywhere.
for the very first mission in which they got into the getaway vehicle and Alex kicked Rory out of the car.
He was the getaway driver.
I was the
but again,
bodyguard, the getaway driver,
I only
waiting
trust myself
patiently,
behind the wheel.
and
So-
he kicks me out.
It took several chances, but tries, but eventually we took out all the bogeys
Yeah.
and we headed for Trevor's Air Base.
Yeah, like the kind of is it called the Sandy Beach Air
Yeah.
Base?
Yeah.
But
Right
again,
up north.
Like the most important part of that is you need to land the Hydra safely, which I believe I did. That was the successful
And
mission.
it's great because after the battle, as you're flying to the airbase,
Yeah.
you have danger zone kick in,
Yes,
through
by
the
Kenny
sound
Loggins.
system,
It's super
which is
cool.
great. You feel very badass driving all the way over there.
But even going back to the point about the 2-life limit, I think we'd lost 1 life. We knew that if I crashed the Hydra in any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form, it was game over.
Because there are mini checkpoints throughout
There are.
a mission, so when we died, we didn't go straight back to the shore.
Yeah.
We started just kind of on the deck.
Yeah.
So there are like checkpoints throughout a mission.
What's interesting to note, even though this kind of step-by-step process and these missions in the bigger heist are similar to the ones that you do now on your phone, in this, if you run out of lives, if your life count reaches 0, that's a fail. Whereas
Yeah.
originally, your life count can hit 0 and you don't lose the mission until everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Right.
In heist, you run out of
Yeah.
lives,
Yeah.
you
More
have to restart.
unforgiving, yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
More at stake.
But again, once we had that the aircraft down on the ground, the EMP was in our hands. It was on to the next part of the mission. So for the 4th part of this heist, we had to steal the Valkyrie gunship, which is a heavily tooled up helicopter. Now we needed that for the final raid on Humane Labs, and it was currently being held on a pier, but of course it was heavily guarded by Merryweather mercenaries. And we had decided to take the approach from the land. So we just drove
Landside,
up
yeah, basically just
in
going
our
up to the
cars.
port as normal, and kind of we all spread out in kind of a line
Yeah.
and moved towards the helicopter.
Yeah.
So taking like equally spaced and heading in through the various buildings
Yeah.
and through like the crates and stuff,
the
and taking out
shipyards,
guys on
yeah.
the way.
Yeah. Now I would say that this was probably at this point the most heavily kind of guarded place that we'd stepped into.
Yeah.
Because not only did you have all the guys on the ground, you had buzzards were coming in as well.
Yeah, and more cars of soldiers as well
Yeah.
coming in from the road.
Yeah. And lots of hiding places because you had all of the kind of tanker kind of. What do you call them? I can't even
The
think.
ship boxes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The ship boxes.
Pronounce that correctly.
That's right,
Exactly.
yeah.
So once we got to the hangar at the end, like the main dock area, I think a few of us went in, but me and Rory went up the side.
Yeah.
And we got a really good angle on everyone going down to the pier where the helicopter was.
Yeah.
So he and I
Great
were
for coverage.
sniping. Yeah, they couldn't see us.
Yeah.
He was sniping people up at the top of the ladder. I was down bottom sniping other guys. So by the time you got around there, you had a lot less
Yeah.
heat.
The thing I like about it, because obviously this is all within the GTA universe, and I think one of your first tries, you drove a car up the.
Rory drove a
that
car
was me,
up
yeah.
the side
Up
of
the
the building, up some
stairs.
stairs.
Yeah. That was a
I was
poor
like, I'll
choice.
come with you, and I was running up behind, and then he got out of the car, started rolling down towards me.
Very little
Like a
foresight was
really
involved
weird
at that
Indiana
time.
Jones. I was
Yeah.
running away from it.
But that's the thing. Like we are not criminal masterminds. Let's face it.
Definitely not.
But it was still a whole lot of fun.
But also, I can with that one, I can definitely see other ways of doing it.
Yeah.
So for instance, I can imagine us getting into a sub, driving all the
yeah.
way around to the edge of the dock, which is where the helicopter was,
Yeah.
just popping out, maybe
Yeah.
taking out 2 guys quietly, and taking the helicopter without disturbing anyone else.
Yeah.
And it's great, and hopefully that'll add some replay value to the
think it
heist. You know,
loads.
being able
I
to
think
play
it
it over and
yeah.
over again and
Yeah.
work out the best way to pull off,
Absolutely.
these
Yeah.
missions.
Yeah. Once we were in the Valkyrie itself, obviously there were 2 kind of main cannons on either side, plus a front-facing cannon, and of course more buzzards came in from the Merryweather guys. Now they had air-to-air missiles, which made it pretty tough
So
because
you take like 3 hits. I
3
think.
hits and very little warning. And it's not like you're in a plane where
Yeah.
if you get a lock on, you've got the manoeuvrability.
Yeah.
You can't in it.
And also, I think like with subsequent stuff we're going to talk about, you need a lot of communication and coordination, like to time shots. With this, even though we're all on the same vehicle,
Yeah.
you need a lot of communication because the
Yeah.
pilot needs to help you line up shots.
Yeah.
So if you could see a buzzard, you say turn left, hold it steady, because I've got a clear shot. Because once the helicopter got out of your radius, you were basically next to useless.
Exactly. It's very limited range
So
on
really
both of the side guns, and even the main gun on the front, it can only go as high as the the helicopter. The horizon of the helicopter was more downwards, so it was kind of difficult. Even when the helicopter's right in front of you, you can't exactly hit it. So it is
Well, I think
being the pilot's really tricky for that one.
Well, I think the way that it worked best is turning to face the helicopter, because then you had the front gun and the side cannons had just enough give to kind of get
strafed out of it.
Exactly. And that's the kind of thing that worked best. Then, but again, cleared the skies and then landed it back at the safe house and ready for the next part the penultimate part of our heists.
So for the final preparation mission, we had to break into Humane Labs. Now, I know that's the overall goal, but for the last stage, we had to break into Humane Labs to plant the EMP to help us with the actual big heist.
Yeah.
Bit confusing. But it's also worth mentioning that you can do the first 2 missions that we talked about, you can do them, it's kind of an either or, and the same with the 4th and 5th mission. So we could have done this as the Valkyrie mission, or we could have done that the other way around.
A lot of it is just prep for the final goal.
Yeah, so the EMP one was the only one that you had to do as the 3rd mission.
Yeah.
So for this final one, it was the stealth mission. It's actually, I think, maybe my favourite of the preparation missions. We had to go to Humane Labs, take out loads of guards in sequence, really coordinate and sync up our shots, take them out, because if they discovered bodies, game over. You had to go back to the beginning.
So it was great because there'd be moments where there would literally be 4 guards all in a line, and we'd have to pick our targets, do a countdown, and hopefully headshot all at once, and then move on, which is great.
Yeah, who have you got? Have you got the guy in the lab coat? You got the guy up top. Really lining them up.
It's a bit like Rainbow Six,
and it's great just counting it in. It feels cool.
It does feel very cool. The headsets and everything.
So once we kind of cleared the area, we got to the end, and we drove in the armored truck which we stole earlier on into the facility with the EMP loaded on the back of it. And we got it around the corner, and you had to do something, didn't you?
Yeah, so to put it inside the garage, to basically hide it, there was a very short mini game. It's pretty simple. Is you had 6 moving bars going up and down at different speeds, and you had to lock it onto the central bar. There was a gap in the middle. And if you matched it up, then it locked in place, you moved on to the next one. If you screwed it up, then it not only screwed up the one you're on, but it moved you back one. So you had to it's basically rhythm action. Pretty simple. But once we completed that, opened the garage and planted the EMP.
So we've took that away inside Humane Labs for the final heist.
They will never look in the garage.
And then, this is really cool. This is really cool. And again, I'm going to make another reference to Tom Cruise movie. We got into Humane Labs van all together, and you kind of went off and did your own thing, but that's for another day.
I died. He killed me.
Liability. And we got into the van, and we just drove out the Humane Labs facility as security was coming in, and just drove right past them, and they didn't even realise. So it was like Mission Impossible when they get away from the CIA in the fire truck. And it felt like cool. Like, it felt like a real stealth mission.
Because it felt like you were on the clock, and it's like, right, the EMP is in there. We've got to get out there as quickly as possible because the timer starts. And it was, we were literally just exiting as they all came in. So if we would have hung around any longer, if I'd have waited for you to get into the car rather than backing over you, we would have been dead. So I did it for the good of my team.
Well, for some of the team.
So the EMP was in Humane Labs, and we're all ready for the final big heist.
So this is what we've been building up to, the big raid on Humane Labs. Now, we've got everything in place. We've got the key cards with which to get inside the building. We've got the EMP already in place. And, of course, we've got the Valkyrie gunship, which we use to fly to the heist place itself. Now, you and I were on the side cannons.
Again, while we were flying there, we were on the side cannons, and going in, we nominated. We had to choose roles to perform within the heist. You and I were ground team. And you and our friend from Rockstar were aerial support. So you were kind of in the cockpit of it, and we were on the sides.
And it was also at that point when we were deciding roles, when we also decided who would get which take home from the actual kind of raiding map. Now, I can't remember. I think if as the team leader, they took a huge. I think it was about 65%. It was about $280,000.
But I mean, you can.
I think you can be more generous.
Exactly. I think we just got scammed essentially.
And like the other 3 got $81,000, which is still.
It's a lot of money.
To be honest,
15%.
That's a lot of work for that. I would. That's not fair.
But anyway, back to the Valkyrie gunship. You were in the gunner's chair.
Exactly. I was in the gunner's chair, you two were on the floor. So by the looks of it, initially the first thing to do was to blow open the front doors to Humane Labs with the C4, the sticky bombs.
Yeah, so we parachuted in, didn't we? And
of course, in style.
Obviously. You say that, I kind of like nearly broke my leg, I think.
It was fun to watch these two things.
It wasn't very balletic. I pulled really late. Got nerve. So we ran towards the doors and we planted some sticky bombs to blow it open.
Yep.
And then we put night vision on.
Yeah.
So essentially, as soon as you guys blow the doors, alarms are going off, and that's when you start to see the enemies appear on your mini map. That ranges from everything to more attack helicopters coming in over the hills. You got jeeps, vans of soldiers coming in to the car park, and more soldiers coming out through the doors.
So we were not aware of any of this.
So it's a frenzy essentially that's going on while we are just giving you constant air support, trying to keep them off you while you guys do.
Whatever you were doing.
Whatever you were doing.
What were we doing?
Well, so we were making our way through the corridors, just kind of clearing out. Obviously,
having a good
lots
time.
of bad guys.
Break for tea and relax.
Absolutely. All in darkness, all through night vision.
Hard.
But yeah, like lots of just kind of hiding behind walls, knowing that people were going to come.
So we were kind of working our way to like the heart of the lab.
Yeah.
And once we got there, that's when we needed the key cards.
Yeah.
So we put them in together and we got into like central.
At the same time.
There you go. And then we stole the data.
Yes. And the way out was a little bit kind of weird. We didn't go out the way we came in. We basically ducked out through an underground, I assume it was a river. It might have been a sewer. I don't know. You were really fast at swimming.
I'm really fast at swimming. So you had to put like little mini breathing apparatus on and light flows, and we were swimming out. And we popped up outside far away from Humane Labs on the coast, on a beach.
Yeah.
And we had to fire a flare into the sky so you know where the hell we were.
Exactly. It was pitch dark at this point. So as soon as we see the flares go up, we know where to pick you guys up over on the beach, which is just, on the coast right beside the labs. It's not too far away.
Yeah.
And as soon as we pick you guys up, it's pretty much clean sailing from there.
Well, we were up in the sky, but then again, there were a few more kind of buzzards flying in.
Kind of coming over the hills.
But, we'd gone so far as a team.
They were
easy.
Can't stop us
So,
now.
once those guys were taken out, land on the ground, hand it over to the IAA, and we were done. The money was ours. And so what did you think of your first experience of a heist? Very quickly.
I thought it was great. Because it as I said, it kind of utilizes the familiarities that we have with the missions on the phones.
Yeah.
You just invite players, they can join in, drop out. There's no kind of obligations unless you're the leader. The checkpoints work fantastically because, you're not always going to get there first time, but there are checkpoints throughout each mission that make it easy to just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
And I think, using teamwork, utilizing that a lot more, I think it's fantastic.
I thought they were really impressive, like really substantial additions to the game. Like,
for free content
heists were always like the building block of GTA 5. It was the theme that the game was kind of hinging upon, these major heists, and these feel kind of as dramatic as the ones in the game. But also, I actually really like playing one role within a team.
Yeah.
Whereas in the game, obviously, you're switching between the three protagonists, which is cool. But then you get to do all the flashy bits.
Yeah.
And I know that's more exciting for a single player experience, but I actually like just being the cog and being a team player. And I'll take this guy and I'll just watch out here. I quite like that.
But it took us just over 3 hours to play through that whole heist. And, even the fact that we have no idea what you did in the final part of that mission. So I can go back and replay that.
Exactly. Swap up the roles and things like that. It's fantastic.
And obviously there's 5 heists in total. So you're looking at, between 15 to 20 hours of additional content, which is a lot.
For free.
And the most important part as well, you're going to get flushed with cash.
Well, if you pull it off.
So here's the ultimate challenge. There's also the criminal mastermind challenge, which is if you need to complete all 5 heists with the same 4 people and not lose a single life. But if you do that, you get $10 million.
I do not want to be the guy who dies on the very last mission.
I volunteer as tribute. That'll be, if we're playing together, it'll probably be me. Yeah.
There you go. So that's it. That's your first look at GTA Heists. They are out on March the 10th. And for all things Grand Theft Auto, keep it here on IGN.